Enemy damage and death stall. When an enemy takes damage, reduce the enemy's blood by the auto doubt. When an enemy's blood is reduced to 0, the enemy becomes exhaustion on death's door. Okay, so you exhaust them, and then they're like, whoa. Enemies on death's door die, take any amount of damage, or at the end of the enemy phase. When an enemy dies, remove its miniature from play and erases blood total. Okay, so you can knock them down to 0 HP, but they're still there unless you clear them. They'll go into the end of their phase, but they'll still get to attack because it's the end of the phase. Slayers may perform executions on enemies that are in death's door. Blow up explosive barrel. Player may take an action to blow up an explosive arrow at the zone. Remove a barrel from that zone. Then choose to deal 5 damage to each enemy that is engaged with the Slayer or to any one enemy in the Slayer's zone. But you don't hurt yourself from the barrel. Gain rage. A Slayer may take an action to gain 1 rage. Cast incantation is a free action. Declare you do your incantation thingy. And those normally cost rage. So if you fail, you gain rage, and you can spend that on a thing that can't fail. So you feel a little better about the fact that your dice aren't being very nice to you. Melee. A Slayer may take an action to engage and deal 1 damage to an enemy in their zone. Execute that enemy if it's on death's door. Ooh, engagement. We've got a long section here, indented even. When a Slayer becomes enraged with an enemy, place that enemy's miniature token in front of the player controlling that Slayer. Engaged enemies are in the same zone as the engaged Slayer, and they move with the Slayer whenever the Slayer moves to another zone. Come along, children. When a Slayer becomes disengaged from an enemy, place the enemy's miniature token at the Slayer's current zone. When a Slayer engages an enemy that is currently engaged with another Slayer, that enemy disengages from its previous Slayer and engages the new Slayer. Slayers can be engaged in multiple enemies at once. Slayers can perform execution, chainsaw, strafe, and disengage only on enemies that are engaged with. So if I melee and engage 3 people, I've now got 1 damage on all of them. And if they had 6 blood, I can be like, hey, Parker, shoot a barrel in this zone. Wait, I think I have to shoot the barrel if they're engaged with me and I want to hurt them. So I could do it to 2 of them and then vote barrel. Or wait and get 5. And I assume they might close to engage on their own. Engage only enemies that engage them. Execution. As a free action, a player may execute an enemy on death's door that is engaged. What this is literally from the like the new Doom games. When an enemy is weak and you get them with an execution, you get a whole bunch of resources, and that's how you get them rather than like pickups on the ground. And it was considered a pretty revolutionary mechanic at the time. The Slayer kills that enemy and gains 1 rage, then roll a number of 6-sided dice equal to the enemy's mass, minimum of 1, maximum of 4. And add up the results, the Slayer gains that amount of blood, not exceeding their max blood. Okay, so you can use this. This is how you heal. Next game, Chainsaw. A Slayer may take an action to chainsaw an enemy. In a sense, you don't want to kill too fast because you want to be sure that you and your buddy are able to execute all the enemies, because if they die in their turn, you don't get anything. Chainsaw. A Slayer may take an action to chainsaw an enemy they engage with pay an amount of fuel equal to the enemy's mass, minimum of 1. I don't remember a fuel max or anything listed on a character sheet. Then roll a number of 6-sided dice equal to the enemy's mass. Okay, so you just get to kill them, even if they're a lord. The lords just presumably have higher mass. Then roll a number of 6-sided dice equal to the enemy's mass. Gains a combination of bullets and shells that sum up to that result, not exceeding. Okay, so you can't get heavy ammo, but you can get shell and bullets. Alright. If the enemy's mass is greater than the Slayer's, the Slayer gains any combination of bullets, shells, and heavy ammo instead. Oh, I see. You can add heavy ammo if you go after a larger foe. Strafe. Slayer may take an action to attempt to exhaust all enemies that Slayers engage with. Roll D666, modifying the roll against the zone's mass. Strafe. Roll results. You're trying to tire them all out. Exhaust all enemies engaged with Slayer. Slayer engages in action. So you just go straight to exhaustion. You have them on death's door. You don't even have to get through their health this way.
Wow.
Exhaust all enemies engaged with Slayer. Strafing is like just walking to the side and shooting. So I was kind of expecting it to involve the gun. Modifying the roll against the zone's mass. Okay. So in a sense, if it's a smaller area, it's easier to strafe them, I guess, to indicate. I'm not sure. We also have 0 viewers all of a sudden. Maybe they didn't like what I was saying so much. Just kidding. I think it's fucked. Critical hit. Exhaust all enemies engaged with the Slayer. Extra action, which I think is always crit. Exhaust all enemies. Exhaust 1 enemy. So you can really tee people up to get fucked pretty easily here. Because in theory, you can just do 1 strafe roll, exhaust everyone engaged with you, and then shoot the barrel. Dealing any amount of damage to all everyone engaged, killing them all. You wouldn't get their little, like, Ghiblies, though, so you wouldn't be as happy, but Ready and exhausted. Enemies and equipment can be in either ready or exhausted state. Ready means the enemy can act on its turn and equipment can be used. Exhaust an enemy. Am I mixing up my terms? I think Death's Door is different from Exhaust, actually. I think I'm being silly. Yeah, okay. Exhaust an enemy. So what it means is they wouldn't be able to take their turn because you're busying them up, chasing them around. Leading on a merry chase is essentially what Strafe does here. Exhaust an enemy after it takes its actions during the enemy phase or successful strafe roll. Exhaust equipment when it is used. Exhausted enemies and equipment cannot exhaust again until they become ready. When an enemy is exhausted, mark it as exhausted on the enemy sheet. When equipment becomes exhausted, mark it as exhausted on the player sheet. Erase these marks when enemies become ready. I don't know why I said it like that. Disengage is a free action. A Slayer may disengage from any exhausted enemies they are engaged with. Move. Slayers may take an action to move to a connecting zone. Move the Slayer's miniature token to a zone that connects with the Slayer's current zone. When the Slayer moves to a zone, all enemies engaged with the Slayer and remain engaged and move to the zone at the same time. Attacks of opportunity. Slayer provokes an opportunity attack when they are engaged with one or more enemies and performs any of the actions below. Attack someone not engaged. Move. Use equipment, pick up supply, or fuel. Take a zone action attempt to capture. When a Slayer provokes an attack of opportunity, each ready enemy that is engaged. So you have a lot of ways to exhaust your enemies, right? Because I think this is a attacks opportunity performed resolving. Oh no, ops don't cause them to become exhausted. Huh. I see, but they are the readied, so you want to control their readied and unreadied status. Use equipment. We have a lot of ideas coming from board game design here that I think are really melding well with the tactical flow and are allowing dynamic states to think about and interact with outside of, you know, I'm on the far side of the dude, I get advantage. Which is a nice, you know, I'm horny for that sort of tactical play, but I can respect that we've taken a different approach here, and it is just frankly like easier to set up and run. Mm-hmm. A Slayer may take an action, for some people, an action to use the ability of one ready equipment. I've read that as to use the abilify. I'm like, yeah, he pop an abilify, exhaust that equipment when it was used, pick up supply. This is written very straightforwardly, very straightforward manual. Despite, like, you know, in a sense it drips with theme, right? Like the whole book, the whole aesthetic, all the art, it's very poignant. It's very of its theme. It's getting the job done. The rules all evoke it, right? But it's not dripping with flowery language related to that. It just says, you know, can't, you know, gain a combination of bullets and shells that die result, you know.
I feel like that has its place, though.
Yeah. A Slayer. Yeah, I mean, this reads more like a manual, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. A Slayer may take an action, use a zone, set in zones, and, like, look at this motherfucker. Like, you know, like
That's amazing. That is...
We have the vibe coming through the art, and a lot of heavy lifting is the reference. If you do not know the game Doom Eternal at all, or like any of the Doom games, I've never played the new Doom games, or the old ones for that matter, but like, you know, you see a short YouTube video of them and you'll get the idea. So I don't think that it's like, it's not like this is a tabletop game that's only been made for players of the video game, but it's got the vibe. Mm-hmm. Capture a rune. Slayer takes an action to capture a rune. Yeah, extra action. You capture it, and you're cursed. No. Are you going to explain what a curse does? Capture a rune fails. Slayer gains one right. Berserk runes are key to completing your mission objectives. Slayers may spend runes during a mission to gain powerful abilities. Unspent runes are worth 1 XP at each at the end of the mission. Activate a rune power as a reaction. Activate a rune power and move a rune from your Slayer sheet. The enemy phase, the enemy block. Revenant, max 4, 15 blood, mass 1. Max 4, is it max 4 mass? Retaliate. Engage, attack with 4 damage. Unengage, attack 2 damage, engage. Okay, so these guys are gonna like do a little, and then run up to you and engage you. I see. So they do different damage at engaged and unengaged ranges, making the decision more complicated. When an enemy attacks a Slayer, roll d66, modifying the deal double to damage, deal the damage, deal half. Attack misses. I'll bet the fact that it's half rounded up is part of why they're using even numbers for the damages, even though we saw more odd numbers sometimes in the players, like the 5 with shotgun.
Mhm.
The attack misses, the target Slayer gains 1 rage. Okay, so they can also give you rage. The Slayer gains an extra action on the next round. Holy shit, if a bunch of enemies critical miss you, you could wind up with a lot of actions. Because you get an action for them critically missing you. Engage. Your steps are complete. Proceed to hell. So basically, the enemies, hunter enemies move. Enemies with the hunter keyword pursue players from zone to zone. Yeah, it's going to be a keyword game where you put little keywords on things, which know what it means. Like tally is definitely a keyword that we're going to learn about later.
Mhm.
Presumably, if they attack you back, if you attack them melee. If 2 players equal distance from the hunter enemy, the players decide which slayer the hunter moves to. So hunters just go on the board, and because it's like a board game-ish scenario where there's no one running, it's solo play, the game has to somewhat run itself. And to keep people from being too static, you have hunter enemies. The first thing that happens in the enemy phase is they move. Equidistance, you literally decide between yourselves which the slayer is going for. Basically, the hunters are just going to move for the closest enemy. Engaged enemies act. Unengaged enemies act. We just have to ignore enemies that are not in a slayer zone. So yeah, we only care about the ones in the zone who aren't a hunter. Kill all enemies on death's door. So if they're like on death's door, because they didn't wind up getting fucked on. The hell phase. Doom escalates. Increase doom by 1. Remember, this is the clock that results in you losing if it gets too high. Then compare the amount of doom to the mission's doom threshold and max doom. If doom is greater than or equal to a doom threshold, resolve a torment that corresponds to the threshold's numbers to keep the missions dynamic, presumably as the doom goes up. And I think it can happen for certain failures and such as well. This is time. Shit will trigger. But then eventually your Fox when it reaches the max. Once the torment is resolved, it may not resolve again. And on the nightmare mode, torment resolving time does not prevent enemies from spawning, but normally I think it does. Resurrect dead slayers at the end of the go around. Or spawn enemies. Each player takes a turn rolling a 6-sided die on one of the mission's spawn table. So it's twice the spawn rate if you have 2 players, which is pretty easy inherent balance. If you roll a result that says blank +1 to spawn rolls, or mark one of those modifiers if it is blank. On subsequent spawn rolls, apply +1 to the roll result for each marked +1 modifier. Erase these marks if you roll a result that says remove all +1 modifiers. Okay, so the spawn table is not necessarily going to spawn, but it could start putting modifiers on things. You may skip rolling during the step by paying 1 reprieve. You start out with 2 on the easiest mode, 1 on normal, and 0 otherwise.
Right.
So you can do that like once in the mission if you're on normal. Skip the step if the storm might resolve this round. Disregard if playing a nightmare. Raise hell. The players may agree to raise hell. If they do, each of the players gain 1 XP immediately and gain extra action next round. Then there's even more spawning, so do not skip the step if torment resolve this round. Players cannot raise hell more than once per round. Okay, so you can willingly take more foes for more XP. Fun.
Okay, that's cool. I like that.
Slayer damage and death. When a Slayer takes damage, first reduce their armor by that amount of damage until their armor is reduced to 0. Okay, so this is 2 uploads. Then reduce their blood by the main amount of damage. You try their armor and blood totals in your player sheet. When a Slayer's blood is reduced to 0, that Slayer is killed. Lose their main actions for that round. Remove the Slayer. The enemy that killed the Slayer gains the arch enemy status of fighting, gains back its next blood. Whoa! You gotta go back and kill the one who killed you. After the health phase ends, perform the following steps. Remove status effects on Slayers and enemies that last until the end of the round. All effects and abilities say this round end. Ready all exhausted enemies and equipment. Each Slayer gains 1 rage. When these steps are completed, the round ends. Proceed to the Slayer phase of a new round. The end of the mission. Aw. I should have said no. The Slayers complete all their... Okay, so victory. You did all your shit. You get XP. Congratulations. Defeat. Doom got too high. You get XP listed on the mission as a reward for defeat. So you still get something. Resign. The players are going to stop playing. The mission ends. Each Slayer gets 1 XP for each unspent rune. So you have a bunch of runes and resign. You can, still get something. Then erase the number of runes in your player sheet. After you finish your first mission, you choose to play any mission in any order. You can play a mission with a new set of enemies by using the right-hand page of any other mission. Into mutations, victory. Targeting zones. When the zone is revealed, spawn enemy. Elite enemy here. Mutations are enhanced roll moments during mission setup. Choosing mutated by rolling once on the table. outcome of your last mission. So if you won last time, they'll add more enemies, people will do more damage. If you got defeated, you'll get like a bonus that makes you hit harder. If you resigned, a bunch of XP modifiers for different conditions. So they're incentivizing you to play deeper into the mission if you resigned last time. Weirdly, you could like start a mission, agree that you immediately resign, and then like to farm these, but like, you know, below meta. Example of gameplay: Selena Wrath Prayer goes first in the Slayer phase. She has many options, but she may only take 3 actions. She decides to melee a revert her zone, dealing 1 damage and engaging it. Next, she attacks the reaver with her shotgun. She rolls a 3, 5, and 4. If her mass has been 1 greater than the reaver's mass, that 5 would have counted as a 6. Oh, last attack was only a weak hit. Still enough to kill the reaver with its fire. Thanks to the extra 2 damage from the shotgun, deals when the Slayers engage with their target. Selena Wrathprayer has 1 action left to take, but she saves it and passes the turn to the other Slayer. Impetuous Rob has a difficult choice to make. Selena was only able to kill 1 enemy, but there are 4 more enemies left in the zone. If the enemies are left alive and ready, they will attack the Slayers that round. Rob could try thinning them out 1 by 1, but he decides to make a riskier play. First, as I was describing earlier, he attacks 2 enemies with his revolver, spraying out some damage to each enemy. Oh. Special ability negates the disadvantage he would have had for using the same weapon twice. I forgot that. Because I was about to say, if he uses the same action on the same weapon twice, it's a disadvantage, but apparently they're all going to go. Rob hits on each of his attacks. He then plans to attack with his lightning gun, hoping to land at least a weak hit to use its alt fire. Lightning gun's alt fire exhausts each enemy in the zone that took damage already this round. Oh my goodness. Selena wants to help him with this, so Rob passes the turn back to her before he attacks. Selena spends 1 rage to use anti-cosmic overload to give, which is the one that everyone has. Give Rob advantage as attack roll. Cassie incantation does not cost 1 of her actions. She then uses her last action to melee another enemy in the zone, dealing it 1 damage so that Rob's lightning gun can exhaust it. Rob attacks the last undamaged enemy. He rolls 1, 2, 4, and 6, dropping the 1 because Rob has advantage. The attack is a strong hit, dealing both his fire and out fire. All enemies are exhausted and won't take this round. Next round, both Slayers will need to plan around having less ammo, more enemies to kill, and runes left to capture. So, tight little example of gameplay where technically speaking a lot is happening, but it's still less than a game like 5e where you have every little person has a lot of fiddly little bits. Like we don't have, there's like a wisdom and a dex modifier and all these little fellows, and they don't have saves, they don't have any reactive defenses. Slayer phase. Each Slayer takes turns performing the reactions. Enemy phase, enemy moves towards the nearest Slayer. Hell phase, increase doom by 1. End of the round. As a rules reference. This shit can fit real dense, as you can see. All the actions, what you do in sequence, which is good to know when you have, again, like the sequence of 4 different rounds. I mean, 4 is not a round, but you know what I mean? Like these different phases, it's very, I say this complimentary, it's giving board game, but in a war game vibe, and I like that. I think it's unique. Unique New York. Upgrades. Between missions, players may spend their earned XP on the following upgrades. Extra melee damage, increased max blood, frag grenades, bigger mass, 13 XP, holy shit. Blind sight. This would be bad for a shotgun, technically. Need ways to lower your mass. Anyway. Okay, Arsenal Ritual Maul in the section of blank in this preview version. Necro Trezeia in the section of blank in this preview version. Oh. What will Hexodius do? We don't know. We'll have to find out. Remember, the itch is pinned. Wait, it doesn't look pinned. Huh? I've repinned it. Check the pinned itch. To check out Victor's creations like this and many more. Keywords: arch enemy. When a non-lord enemy kills a Slayer, gains the. Am I tripping? Did we never find out what a lord enemy was?
I don't remember. No.
I just like, Lord, it's going to be in keywords, and I'm going to search for no reason. Yeah,
no, there it is.
It's literally in keywords.
Yeah.
I was searching for no reason. That enemy gains the arch enemy stat aspect, and immediately gains about to max blood. Arch enemy is +1 mass. When arch enemy dies, reduce doom by 1. Okay. So you can pull the doom that went up from dying down by killing it. Burn, if the ability effect burn enemy, apply the burning status to the enemy when the Slayer deals damage to burn enemy. The Slayer gains armor equal to the amount of damage they dealt with a burn enemy. Wow. So burn doesn't actually seem to hurt the enemy, it just gives you a reason to hurt them. Curse, and I didn't see other ways to get armor other than supply drops. So if an ability or effect would curse a Slayer or enemy, apply the curse status effect to them. Curse Slayers and enemies have disadvantage on their attacks, and attacks against them have advantage. Ooh. Cast is removed when the cast Slayer enemy rolls a miss and critical. Are you colossal? I'm already colossal enemies engaged. All Slayers in zone. Oh. Do not place the colossal enemy token in front of any player controlling a Slayer. Engage the colossal enemy. When a colossal enemy becomes exhausted, it disengages from all Slayers. A colossal enemy performs its engaged attack on each Slayer. It is engaged with one Slayer at a time in any order the Slayers choose. After the colossal enemy finishes resolving his action against the engaged Slayer exhausted. There's always a question of, in a game where you don't literally have a little, or even in a game where you do have a little board with like a larger token, how do you like just pick the super large enemy doing super large enemy things? This is an interesting way to do it. Colossal enemy only performs attacks of opportunity on the Slayer that provokes the attack. Colossal enemies do not move with an engaged Slayer if that enemy is moved to their zone. When engaged Slayer moves to their zone, they become disengaged from the colossal enemy. Elite and elite enemies. Enemies with the keyword cannot be the target of chainsaw attacks unless they are exhausted. Okay. So that's why the chainsaw kill, it seemed OP and didn't single out lords as actually so powerful. The player gains 1 XP when they execute an elite enemy. Ooh, nice. Hostile. Note only execute, not just kill. So you're still having to line up the pinata effect. Hostile. Anytime an unengaged and ready hostile enemy is at the Slayer's zone, it automatically engages the Slayer. If more than one Slayer is a hostile enemy zone, the players may choose which Slayer the enemy engages. An unengaged and ready hostile enemy will automatically engage if I just find it funny that they like oh, hostile is like a special tag. I'm like, I think everyone here is pretty hostile. It's hell and they're trying to kill them. Okay, so it automatically moves to engage, which is distinct from, I guess, the Revenant who attack, deal damage, and they engage. I guess they don't have to hit with their attack to move in as part of it. If more than one Slayer is at a hostile enemy's zone, the player chooses which Slayer the enemy engages. An unengaged and already hostile enemy will automatically engage if it spawns at a zone with the player, it moves to a zone with the player moves to a hostile enemy's zone, it exhausts an unengaged hostile enemy and becomes ready to Slayer's zone. Alright, so hostiles motherfuckers are all zooming in on you. Hunter, during the enemy phase, each ready and unengaged enemy moves to a connecting zone along the shortest path towards the closest Slayer. If more than one Slayer is the same distance from the Hunter enemy, choose which Slayer the Hunter enemy moves to. Hunter enemies in a zone with at least one Slayer do not move. Lord, and with the Lord keyword, cannot be the target of chainsaw actions and cannot be exhausted by Slayer abilities other than strafe actions. Retaliate if a Slayer rolls a miss or a critical miss on an attack against a ready enemy. With retaliate, the enemy performs either its engaged actions against the Slayer if it is engaged with that Slayer. Its engaged actions against the Slayer if it is not engaged with that Slayer. Neither occurs if the Slayer is not in the enemy's zone. For example, if attacking with the railgun, the enemy is not exhausted to perform these actions. Shrouded. Critical. Oh no, retaliate is when you miss or critical miss is when they retaliate. I assumed it was going to be when you meleeed them. I see. Shrouded. Slayers cannot attack a shrouded enemy unless the enemy is engaged. It's like, ooh, alright. I guess you could build an enemy such that it just, you couldn't attack it because it never engaged you. I'm assuming that you never do that from a design perspective. I just find it interesting. Bach 1, the nightmare made flesh. Nothing hurts more than the pain of resurrection. You wake up into a nightmare, choking a sea of blood spewed from the mouth of a mountainous monstrosity. You are one of trillions of doomed being baptized, screaming tidal waves of blood vomit. You drag yourself onto the shore with degloved hands. Muscles go perversely over a restitched bone, like watching gore pull through a meat grinder in reverse. We wield the vile blood of the corpse god. When your eyeballs grow back into your sockets, you set them on the horrid icon of sin that vomited you into undying existence. You ripped up its head, perhaps you could bring an end to this nightmare made flesh. Rotting soldiers, cybernetic cores, and one fucked up crusader riding a fell beast standing in your way. Get ready for bloodshed. Mission 1, reconsider the churning volume of the corpse deity. Mission 2, icosahedral keys to the fleshy gates. Mission 3, regorge in the morgue. And Mission 4, death womb cathecus. Lovely. This section left blank in this preview version, so again, like we weren't getting this hot and heavy steam in the rules. They were very cleaned up. I think because this is where that flavor is supposed to pour out.
Right.
Mission 1: reconstituted in the churning grommets of the corpse. So this is a 4-zone map with a lot of connections, and everything else is locked. As a group, kill 3 enemies per slayer. Complete. Zones 2 and 3 are unlocked. As a group, capture 4 runes. When completed, Zone 4 is unlocked. Objective 3, kill a Lord enemy resolutions. Gain victory, 4 XP, defeat, gain 2 XP. Rune powers, Cabal, gain 3 range. Onslaught your attacks. Deal double damage this round. Pig cubus. Oh, the max number is the maximum number of them. 2 mass, 20 blood, 5 blood, 0 mass, 6 blood, 1 mass. Oh, you have 0 mass. Interesting. They're massless. Spawn, corpse soldier, X2 reaver. Oh, interesting tables. Torment each. How does this table work? If you roll a 1, 2, or 3, 2 corpse soldiers and a reaver come out. If you roll 5 or 4, alright, piggy piss, remove all +1. Okay. The modifiers are growing. Okay, I see. Sorry.
You good?
Bunch over Saints, their zone. Each engaged enemy engage the Slayer of their zone. These are the torments, but what's the doom level? The threshold 3, 5, 8. Okay. Each Slayer becomes cursed. I'm sure cursed is a keyword that I'm still looking. Arena. But what is it? Because we saw a curse earlier and I didn't figure it out.
Yeah, I remember that.
Use keyword. If an ability or effect would curse a slayer or enemy, apply the curse that is effective on cursed slayers and enemies have disadvantage on their attacks. Attacks against them have advantage. Curses removing the cursed slayer enemy rolls a miss a critical. Rolls a miss or a critical miss in there. Okay, so when they fuck up, they get uncursed. That's interesting. So, they listed 4 missions, but this is a preview with some stuff up blank. Point is, this is what a mission looks like. It's pretty straightforward. It fits on 2 pages. And it's probably, if I had to guess, an hour, 40 minutes to an hour and a half entertainment, depending on how within engaged everyone is. Place a club at Zone A. Place facing around place the 2 zones. I'm not sure I remember what the point of the card suites was. I just remember you did them. So, that is WARRUNE with the WARRUNE preview. We go to page 40. The book lists 45 pages. I think Epoch 1 is presumably the mission set 1. You can do them in any order after doing the tutorial, so I think it's more of a daisy chain of missions, a sort of mission era, and then you can move into different epochs about the story of capturing the runes and opening the gates of hell, I presume. But it sounds fun. It sounds neat. Mm-hmm. And shout out Victor A. Gonzalez. This is a wonderful game. And it looks fun. It's I think it is a co-op game, is a co-op or solo game that definitely fills a niche that is not filled right now. It has some lovely presentation. It feels kind of like an old paper, a papery, plasticky video game manual in a good way. It feels like it's explaining things to me, and it's got little fun bits around it, and overall I'd say it is some solid, straightforward layout, and I haven't played the game, but it feels like it works in a pleasing fashion. And I enjoyed the ludology here of talking about what games take inspiration from. Also looked at Arkham Horror, the card game. But yeah, here at 1:40 p.m. Eastern, after an hour and 10 minutes of streaming, I do think that we have more or less tapped the back walls of this game. So, WARRUNE, how you feeling, Parker?
The theming is really intense.
Yeah.
But I like that about it. I think it's really neat. Like you said, it's really straightforward. I kind of like that they saved the really intensely flavored language for the missions. That kind of gave it room to breathe a little bit and didn't like completely oversaturate the book.
Yeah,
with,
for sure.
Like just that.
We could have put this across like 4 or 5 times as many pages if we were just pumping blood and viscera into every page.
Right.
Not that there'd be anything wrong with that, but we got the job
Not at all.
done a lot faster here.
Absolutely. And I think it's I'd definitely be able to just like start playing this after, reading. How long did it take us? Like
With commentary, an hour and 10 minutes,
an hour and
except
10 minutes,
chop
yeah.
off 10 minutes because I was canoodling, so like
Yeah.
10 minutes? No, sorry, no, wrong. An hour? This is perhaps an hour read if you are doing it at the speed of commentary.
Yeah. Like if you and your best friend like read this across the span of an hour and then just got to playing, I think that would be totally feasible and you'd be able to play well and it would work well.
Yeah, you could probably have like a weekend's entertainment out of 4 missions.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I think that if you are into this niche, I see no reason not to put this in your backlog.
Absolutely.
Because like you're getting everything you want. You probably already have all the shit you need to play, or if you don't, this would not be hard to scrap together pictures for on like a Roll20 scenario.
Right.
The mission structure is like very straightforward, and if you and a pal are like we have 2 people and we don't feel like that's enough to play a role-playing game, is like you can do like a one-on-one, but if that's not the vibe with your group and you both want to be the player, so to speak,
right,
do this.
Yeah. And I always get excited when a game is for 1 to 2 people.
Oh,
I like that.
yeah. Are you a little co-op head?
Yeah. I think it's really cool to be able to either play a tabletop game on your own, because that's the position that I'm in most of the time.
Yeah.
Or to just play with one other person and have that work. Because again, that's a position I find myself in often, where I have like one friend who's interested and not a whole group.
Yeah, I was that way. I mean, my interest in the hobby was slowed for a long time because I had like Cole, and that was pretty much it. So yeah, I mean, a game like this would have been perfect for us in college.
Absolutely.
I definitely think that, particularly when you're not in the hobby, you don't have a lot of friends who are. Maybe you have one friend who's interested, or maybe you don't.
Yeah.
I think 1 to 2, it's an underserved range. It's an underserved range. It's probably not talked about enough, and I think if there's anything I could say about WARRUNE, and maybe this is actually totally the page, case on the itch, and I'm just silly. Yeah, a fully cooperative solo strategy game for 1 to 2 players. This is a good thing to emphasize. For those of you unaware, the default mode of WARRUNE is this. It's striking. I will say this. I get wanting to make it look like blood. If I were to give one piece of constructive criticism you can do black and red. I would like to do black and red myself. You probably need to go with a fainter red.
I would agree.
And you probably need to a fainter red and a thicker black all around, I would say. Larger black font.
Yeah, if you're going to be putting like straight black text on another color, I feel like maybe
you thicken it up.
Mm-hmm.
Or heretically you make it like a black outline fill.
Maybe. That might be for like bodies of text though.
For a header. Probably not. For just you probably want to break it up a little bit more, although I mean I'm no color theory man, I'm just game design boy. And I can say this is some tasty game, a nice thing to play with your friends. Here's WARRUNE 2020. It doesn't look it looks like the remaster is in the pipe, and I think that you should strongly consider enjoying it because hell is total fucking war. It's metal. Ooh, I like it.
I like it too.
I think that's all I really have left to say is Victor. Good job, gamer, and I look forward to see what comes next. And right now, you know what? We'll raid the Cytherian, even though
they're playing Anno.
Yeah, as an Anno head myself, I would love to join them. So, We're gonna pump a raid over to the Scytherian. He's a cool fellow. He plays some tabletop role-playing games on stream sometime, and don't enter right now. So we'll see you on the flip. Oh,
Lee, thanks for having me.
Of course, it was a pleasure to have you, and a pleasure to not be able to push the raid button because I have something. we love the. Oh my God, the same for all. All right, we're gonna have to unpin it right now. To be able to. Oh fuck! We'll pretend that didn't happen.
Invalid username.
Fuck! I put a space. We'll see you on the flip, and we'll see you in some drip. Hey.